Mistonia no Kibou, or should I say Mistonia's Hope the Lost Delight, is finally coming out in English on November 13. I don't know about you, but this has been one of my most awaited Otome games of 2025. I even mentioned it in my previous video. The whole novel setting meets fantasy and revenge theme instantly hooked me, especially the dilemma of the MC having to choose between revenge or love. Isn't that kind of story exciting, you guys? I'm so curious how this will play out. What really stuck in my mind is that this is actually the only Otome localization that got announced before the Japanese release, which honestly shocked everyone because it has literally never happened before. Like, seriously, it never happened before in Otome history. It looks like they're pretty confident with this title, or maybe just testing the market? I don't know. But either way, that move alone already made me even more curious about this game. Still, I'm really grateful that I got a chance to experience this game early thanks to Access Games. So today, I'll be sharing my first impressions, what you can expect, and maybe help you find out if this is your Otome match or not. I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical at first because of the mixed opinions back then, but after actually diving into it, let's just say this game wasn't what I expected, in a good way. Heart Flop XL, romance meets Nihongo. Before that, if you love visual novel story-rich or Otome games, or if you want to learn Japanese with Otome games and experience some heart-fluffy romance, I suggest you to subscribe to this channel because you are in the right place. Before I get too ahead of myself though, let's talk about what Mistonia's Hope is actually about, because the premise itself already feels so intense and emotional. The story takes place in Grand Albion, a kingdom thriving under the rule of the Fairy Queen. Our MC, Aprose, lost her family, her loved ones, and her hometown to a tragic event, and she swore to take revenge on those behind it. 8 years later, while hiding her true identity, she works at a noble's mansion, one that might be connected to the people she's after. What secrets will she uncover as she crosses paths with the distinguished noblemen who protect the kingdom? What path will she choose? And so begins the revenge tragedy of a girl bound by a cruel fate. From the very start, the story instantly hooked me. It opens by telling us about the background of this world, the history between the Fae, or pure fairies, and humans, and how everything eventually led to the current conflict. As we know from the synopsis, our MC enters a noble mansion, seeking revenge for the tragedy that took everything from her. And the way they presented this whole setup is just so well done. It immediately pulls you in and makes you curious to uncover more, especially if you're someone who loves solid world building. And oh my gosh, if you love that calm, almost nostalgic atmosphere inside a grand mansion, this game nails it. I've always loved noble or kingdom settings. They just have that soothing, refined vibe. If you have read a lot of novel theme manhwa, you'll totally get what I mean. The dresses, the architecture, the way the maids interact, everything feels so alive and dreamy. The common route itself is structured really nicely. It introduced each love interest as a representative of different noble houses, showing their distinct specialties and roles within the kingdom. I love when Otome games take time to establish hierarchy and lore. It makes the world feel layered and believable. Personally, I always find this kind of setup fascinating, so if you're into that kind of premise, you'll definitely enjoy this too. You also get to explore the mansion, gather fragments of memories and the emotions behind them, which is honestly so cool, and gradually uncover the world's history while getting to know the characters. What I really appreciate is that everything in the common route feels intentional. Every scene, every piece of dialogue serves a purpose and contributes to the story or their bond. There are no filler moments that don't relate to the main plot, which I've seen happen a lot in other Otome games. Some of them tend to add random side character events just to make the game longer, but it ends up dragging the main plot instead. Mistonia, on the other hand, keeps it compact but meaningful. and that also applies to the ally routes, at least from what I've seen so far. And honestly, I never realized playing a kudere MC could be this refreshing. I don't think I've ever played a stoic MC quite like this before. Her reaction always surprised me, and given her past and her desire for revenge, some of her responses feel so different from the usual bubbly or kind MCs we often see, and I actually love that about her. I would love to play more Otome games with kudere MCs, so if you have any suggestions, please let me know. Now, since this is an Otome game, of course we have to talk about the romance side too, right? So far, I've only finished Alfred's route and I'm currently in the middle of Lucas, so I can't give my final thoughts on the romance yet. But based on what I've played, I think I already have a pretty good sense of where this game is heading when it comes to romance. Now, here's the thing. Romance is super subjective. What one person calls low romance can feel totally different to someone else. So before jumping in, it helps to ask yourself first, what is your idea of romance? For me, romance isn't always about the confessions, the physical touch, or those dramatic lines. Sometimes it's the little moments, the quiet conversations, the subtle gestures, the gradual trust, the feeling of being understood. That, to me, is romance. It doesn't always need to be full of kisses or fireworks to feel meaningful and sweet. From what I've seen so far, the romance in this game isn't written just to be sweet for the sake of being sweet. You know what I mean? It's written to make sense for who they are as people. And I actually like that. It feels intentional. Each route adjusts the tone of romance depending on the love interest personality, and that makes perfect sense. For example, Alfred is a pretty stoic and serious person, so what kind of romance can we really expect from this type of guy? Then there's Linus, who's more open and expressive, and Lucas being a tsundere. You can already get a feel for their romance style just by their personalities. And I've honestly never felt this in other Otome games I've played before, but it really feels like the writer crafted each route and their love development carefully. Everything feels thought out. So far, what I can say is, if you are the type who enjoys spending time with the love interest, emotional build-up, and seeing the characters slowly open up, you'll probably enjoy this one a lot. But if you prefer more lovey-dovey or dramatic romance, some routes might feel slower, and that's totally fine. If you want to make sure this game's romance is for you, you might want to start by delving into the love interest personality first by looking at their website. As I said earlier, it really depends on the love interest personality, and there are 5 in total, each with distinct traits, so you'll definitely find one that fits your tastes. I'll share more once I finish the game and break down the overall romance in terms of love languages, just to help you figure out which type of romance might resonate with you the most. So stay tuned for that in my full review video. And if you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. But for now, personally, I think it's a really nice balance between story and romance. If your idea of romance sounds similar to mine, you'll probably be just fine. One thing I'm really sure of is, if you love world building and story-driven Otome games with layered relationships, this one's definitely right up your alley. Okay, and that wraps up my first impression of Mistonia's Hope, The Lost Delight. So far, I'm really enjoying my playthrough and loving every second I spend in this game. We'll see if they can tie the story into a satisfying and a beautiful knot, because you know how much that matters to me. But for now, so far so good. The beginning, the build up, the tone, everything's been really promising. Who knows, it might even end up being one of my top Otome games. We'll see till the end. So, what do you guys think? Do you feel like this could be your Otome match? Will you grab it once it's released or wait until you see more reviews? Let me know in the comments, I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you're still figuring out what kind of Otome game suits you best, you might want to check out my guide on how to find the right Otome game for you. It will help you figure out which romance style or story type fits you the most. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!